Hello there, Jose Rodriguez here. Let me paint you a little scenario. You have longed for a particular photo printer and now you finally purchased it and it arrived this morning. And so you quickly open the box, set up the printer, very carefully install all the cartridges. On a Canon, you install the print head and you sit back and watch it prime itself. You install the driver. Your computer happily recognizes the presence of your beautiful brand new photo printer, and now you want to start printing your own images. No, don't do that yet. Okay, don't do that yet. Here's what you have to do. You need to establish a baseline, and that is this. Can your printer by itself, without any influence from the monitor, the computer, the editing program, the ICC profiles, anything, the printer by itself, utilizing its own driver, can it produce correct color, correct image reproduction? But before we do that, we have to determine if the print head has been properly primed. Once it is done with all the gyrations that a printer will do while you are initializing it, you have to run a nozzle check. This is the very, very first thing you do. Most printers will provide you with several sheets of some of their medium type price papers. In the case of a Canon Pro printer, they usually give you 5 sheets of luster, Pro luster. And so you will run a nozzle check. On a Epson printer, you will have a series of lines, little tiny lines, each representing one of the nozzles in that particular color channel. And you just basically look for missing nozzles. They should all be indicated and there should be no missing lines or gaps. In the case of a Canon printer, it's a little bit different. You're presenting by a band and you are looking for lines that are not colored. In other words, you will look for little missing segments or missing lines. In the case of a Canon printer with Chroma Optimizer, you will notice these 2 dark squares here. Basically what the printer did, since Chroma Optimizer is clear, they produced a gray band of ink on top of which 2 squares of Chroma Optimizer were laid down. And now you can see that indeed there is a couple of very shiny looking squares on top of this gray band. Well, since I can see right off the bat that my nozzle check is perfect, I take this, I date it, put the Canon Pro 10, in this case, that's what this is. Even though I've already set it up in the past, I wanted you to learn what I would do any time I set up a brand new printer. I'm using OEM inks. I'm using Perluster paper. Now that goes in an envelope for future reference. That's going to be my baseline. I will then print a standard image, and these are downloadable for many places. I have a pack of them that I will provide you for free, and I will print that without any color management from the computer. I will just simply tell the driver, Perluster, high quality, letter size. And in the Canon driver, I indicated that I was going to do photo printing. And so then I go ahead and print this. And I am looking for correctness. So visual correctness. I want a neutral black and white. These trees have to look right. The rocks are orange. Strawberries are red. The sunset is beautiful. The skin tones of the little kids is just right. Everything that's indicated here looks correct to me. Ramp from black to white looks correct. There's a little bit of a non-linearity, but remember, I'm just using the printer driver that can be corrected for later on with an ICC profile. I'm looking here as well. I see that all of the color squares are not blending together, but they actually distinctly separated and different. I'm looking here for good graduated color becoming from strong to light without any weird banding in between any of those transitions. And so once I do this, this tells me that the printer by its lonesome self can produce a correct rendition of the standard image. So I will put that aside. Now, if I want to test whether my cartridges are feeding the printhead with a sufficient flow of ink, I can use this. This is kind of a stress test. It starts off extremely strong and it lightens. So if the cartridge cannot provide the huge amount of ink that it requires for these levels right here of saturation, these might be a little bit lighter. And as it gets easier and easier, as it gets lighter and lighter, you will see an area here in the beginning that might be a little bit lighter than the central areas. So you will get this weird from lighter to stronger and then back to lighter situation. In this case, as you can see, I was able to fulfill the ink load demand that the image required to print this super saturated and gradually changing to nothing. Another one here. This is a good one because this will show you banding between these transitional points between colors if your printer cannot handle these types of very saturated transitions. Same thing here with the black squares. And also here, this is a set of lines to determine how sharp and minuscule detail can your printer produce. So you can look at those here with a loop and determine whether you have separation of these very, very close together lines. So this one is a go for me at this point, so I will put it away. Now, if I want to just see normal images, I can provide you with this collage that I created. You go ahead and print that and you're going to look at it. This is kind of extreme colors. And if your printer can produce that and it looks great, then you are good to go. You're going to run a printhead alignment right after you do that nozzle check, okay? Before you proceed to printing, do that printhead alignment. A lot of the printers do it automatically. You should use a glossy or luster paper because it is using an internal sensor to read the results it is printing. So you need to have something a little better than just copy paper. All right, so that is it. You put that away and you begin your printing career with that printer. Later on, months, a year from now, you start noticing weird changes. You go away for a trip and you come back. Well, you might want to go ahead and repeat these. The first thing you do when you have color change, you print a nozzle check. And then you go back to your envelope, take it out of the drawer, compare it. Are there any changes? If there are, you might have to do a cleaning cycle. Okay, so this is the first thing you're going to check. If this is perfect and there are color changes, color balance changes, say this particular print now prints reddish or greenish or bluish or yellowish, or it's no longer as saturated, that's part of a workflow problem. And so you might be doing something that you were not doing prior to this problem, cropping up its ugly head. So this basic thing about this whole concept is that you are determining or certifying that your printer can print correctly right out of the box without any influence from your computer side of the process. So later on, something happens and you at least have this complete baseline that you can go back to and compare. And that is why it's so important that you do this. Once you finish doing that, then by all means, I'm looking for some prints here. By all means, then start printing your images. At that point, you get into other color management problems, such as monitor calibration and use of ICC profiles through your editing software. And then if that is the case, then you no longer want your printer driver to attempt to control color. So you're going to turn that aspect of it off. You're going to tell the driver, hey, don't interfere anymore. all my color management now is going to be handled by Photoshop or Lightroom or QImage or whatever you use. And that's it. This will help you a lot. If you don't do this, you're going to regret it. So do this the first thing out. Use up those first 5 sheets that they give you for free and determine that your printer is printing correctly out of the box. Okay, that is it. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. And until the next time, happy printing, everyone. Bye-bye.